Hello there. We are continuing our series Learn Chess Fundamentals from Paul Morphy. We are still on opening rule number 1, open with the center pawn, and this will be the game 2, in which I will demonstrate this principle. Okay, so without any further ado, let's switch to the board and go in the game. This game was played in 1859. It was also another blindfold simultaneous exhibition. White is Paul Morphy, and black is a gentleman called Samuel Lewis, who obviously happened to be at the exhibition at the time. So Paul Morphy played e4, as he always does, and I explained in my last video and the video before why I think this indeed is the best move for white. Samuel Lewis responds with b6. This is called Owen defense. It's named by Reverend John Owen, who is also famous of playing a match with Paul Morphy in England. The match was arranged between Reverend John Owen and Paul Morphy in a way that Paul Morphy was always black and he was one pawn down. So they just removed the f7 pawn. So he gave him odds, a move and a pawn, and Morphy won 5 games and 2 games were drawn. So this John Owen is known by this match and also by this opening which bears his name. Okay, so this is like the game before. I will show what happens when you don't put your pawn in the center. Now Morphy immediately grabs the center. He plays d4, so he understands the importance of center, of course. And black plays bishop b7, which is in the spirit of Owen defense. Today we would call this hypermodern approach. So instead of fighting for the center with his pawns, black is fighting for the center with his pieces. So today it's considered to be a legitimate defense, although not very often met, but it's played both on a club level and on a high level as well. Morphy continues with bishop d3. If you remember the previous game, he played this same move before. And what is the idea? The idea is first he wants to develop his king side, but in a way not to block his f and c pawns for eventual future advancements, because he understands that in a position where he has center control, he'll be able to play these pawn pushes. And black responds with e6. Well, actually, there is some tactical opportunity if this opening. And I will just show it because I want to demonstrate what I was talking about earlier in previous videos, that this one e4 move creates early tactical opportunities due to the fact that this e-pawn is not protected. So one line goes like this. Black plays f5, hoping that white will capture his pawn, and then black can capture on g2 and eventually capture the rook on h1. So now you see that this pawn is attacked twice, and it's not defended. It's defended on only once, but it's not defended on its natural position. And now here at move 3 we already have the tactical mess on the board. But in this particular position, white can take e takes c5, and now bishop grabs g2 pawn, planning to grab this rook in the next move. But white can play bishop h5 check. Black must respond by playing g6, f takes g6. Black now plays knight f6, g takes h7 check. Black grabs the queen on h5. And now bishop g6 is checkmate. So very sharp tactical line right from the move 3. So this is why e4 games can be very interesting. But okay, let's get back to our game. So black here played e6, and Morphy played knight to h3. Very unusual move Actually, it looks like a beginning move. I mean, what's knight doing on the edge of the board? But actually, it has some deep reasons why Morphy decided to do this. First of all, he wants to advance his f pawn, and this is why he doesn't want to have his knight on f3. He already has a good center control, so his estimation was that he doesn't need to his knight to control the center, because he already has the center under control, and from h3 knight can jump to g5 and make all kinds of threats to the enemy king. And this move, of course, also develops kingside, so preparing for castle. And you have to know that in this time there were not so many chess books out there. And one very popular chess book at the time was Philidor's book, Philidor's Theory. Philidor, of course, being a great French chess theoretician from 18th century. And in Philidor's Theory, Philidor said that the pawns are the soul of the game. This was his famous quotation. And he thought that the pieces should always belong behind the pawns. So you should put your pawns forward, and then your piece should play behind the pawns. So this was the theory of the time, and maybe this is also one more reason why Morphy decided to play h3 and allowing his pawns to go forward. But anyway, in this position with two central pawns with excellent center control, this move is justified. Black continues with d5, and now Morphy plays e5. So he's pushing this e4 his e4 pawn, and now you can see that White has obviously more space in the center, but this move also undermines the development of Black, because now Black cannot play knight f6. So Black develops his knight to e7. The alternative was, well, he could develop his knight on h6, but in that case it can be captured maybe with a bishop, and his pawn structure will be ruined. But nevertheless, maybe in this position, even this h6 would have been a better move, because here on e7 he's blocking his dark square bishop, and he's postponing castling. So White castles, and Black now plays knight to g6, wanting to free this bishop and to finally castle. But this was also not the best move in the position. It's not most accurate, and it's not in the spirit of the position. So much better would be to just try to liberate your pieces in the cramped position by playing this c5 move. So this liberating c5 moves solves the problem of cramped position in the black's camp. And now White has to respond by c3, because he wants to maintain the pawn in the center. And if Black can now move his knight, his e7 knight to c6, and continue his development with knight to d7 and maybe f6. So this would have been better for Black. But okay, in his position he played knight g6. Morphy plays f4 now, so he's continuing with his plan to have strong pawns controlling the center, and this is why he played the knight to h3 in the first place, so this is expected. Black now puts his bishop on e7, preparing to castle finally, and Morphy now decides to go with pawn break and play f5. And this move is in accordance with so-called hand pointing rule. The rule goes like this: if you have blocked center, so if you have blocked center pawns, then you put your hand in the direction of the pawns, so it's hand because it was over the board, and but here we can just make an arrow. And now this hand or arrow shows you in which side of the board you should play. and which side of the board you should attack. And by attack and by play on this side of board, it's usually what does it mean is to make a pawn break. So in this position, you can see that the pawns are locked. The hand points on the king side. So what should white do? Well, white should be looking for pawn breaks on the king side. And this f5 is the only available pawn break. So this is, I think, the best move in the position. And again, I keep repeating this, but I keep getting fascinated by Morphy. So he played this f5 just by intuition. So he understood chess so well that he just played f5. He probably didn't know about this hand pointing rule. Nobody told him, but he just looked at position and he saw that he should play this pawn break. And also there is one other thing I would like to say in this position, and this is what Grandmaster Jesse Cry calls the dream of Federico, the f-pawn. So this is the f-pawn. Jesse Cry calls him Federico. So what's his dream? What does this f-pawn wants to accomplish? Well, this pawn here on f4 is doing two bad things for white. First, this is blocking this c1 h6 diagonal for his dark square bishop, and the second thing, it blocks his rook on the f file. So his dream is to liberate this bishop and to liberate this rook. And if he manages to do this, then he will get his army in the winning position. So by playing f5, he's making this Federico dream come true, because now this pawn will move away, and the white will have both his diagonal and his file open for the attack. Okay, black now captures. He takes f5. He could play could have played something else. He could have played, for example, knight to h4, but then white would capture, and after black recaptures, then white can play g4 with obviously very strong attack and probably winning position. Okay, but here black took on f5, then bishop captured on f5, and then now the attack is rolling. Now his bishop is near the king, is joining the attack. His knight is coming, his queen is coming, his bishop is coming. So you can see that all white pieces are now rolling to the attack. And now black plays bishop to c8, underdeveloping his bishop, because he's afraid probably of this light square bishop, and also this is not so bad diagonal for his light square bishop, because you can see that this diagonal is blocked by d5 pawn, and it will probably be blocked for a while. And now Morphy captures this bishop, and of course black recaptures. And now let's think about this this move. So what does this capturing the bishop change? So first, this is a potential defender of the king side. So this bishop is, first of all, it's a very strong bishop, since this the diagonal is very good for this bishop, and also his plan is to join the defensive forces on the king side. So Morphy just removes the defender, and after captures, you can see that black wasted 3 moves for this. So first he developed his bishop, then he undeveloped his bishop, and then he captured with the queen. So black lost 3 moves in this maneuver, and he didn't end up with any better development. So this queen here is misplaced. This is not developed queen. So he wasted 3 moves with no development. And now you can see how superior Morphy's position is. So everything is active on this side. This knight can go here or here. So no defenders there, and white can just crush black's position. But Morphy is in no hurry to do this. He's looking at his worst placed piece. So he probably evaluated that although he does have all these pieces aiming at black king, that this is not enough for a successful attack. So he develops his only undeveloped piece by playing knight c3. Okay, black is now facing the threat of this d5 pawn, and also so white can capture on d5, but more dangerously white can bring his queen to f3 and now make some serious threats. So black prevents this by playing c3, and white plays now bishop to g5. So again he wants to remove this defender. So now it's you can see this attack is all about removing the defenders. So first he removed the defender, the bishop on c1, and now he wants to remove another bishop so that his king will be left out of defenders, and then he'll be checkmated. Notice that these pieces, this knight and this rook are not participating in the game at all. So black castles, and now Morphy just captures the bishop, and the black recaptures. And now notice that this knight is the only developed pieces in the black camp, and it just moved backward again. So he has only one developed piece, and this piece is not very good. It would be better maybe here that he played queen to e6, and then after capturing he could recapture with queen takes c7, and in this way at least this knight would be more active. But okay, he played castles, and then he recaptured with his knight. And now Morphy plays queen to h5, so he now brings his inactive pieces in the attack. And this is one principle stated by John Purdy. He was American international grandmaster, and he was also world champion in correspondence chess. He was the editor of Chess magazine and distinguished chess coach. And his famous principle was always use inactive force. So this queen here was inactive. It wasn't doing anything, and now this queen suddenly threatens everything in the black's camp. So now black is trying to find a way to defend, and he plays h6. So instead of h6, black could play g6, but this would lose because queen can go to h6 now, threatening this knight g5 idea, and black can stop knight g5 by playing f6, but then after e takes f6, you can see some very serious threats from white, which cannot be avoided except by losing a ton of material. So black plays h6, trying to deactivate his this queen on h5, and now Morphy plays his famous rook lift move. So now you can see from this moment on what is the strategy of attacking strategy. So Morphy wants all his pieces to get near the enemy king, and you will see that in each move he will just keep bringing his pieces closer and closer to the enemy king, and this starts with this rook lift. You saw, if you remember, in the previous game, in the game 1, we saw this this idea of rook lift already. The obvious threat is rook g3, and then pinning this pawn on g7, threatening queen takes h6. So black plays knight to g6, preventing this threat. And again, notice that this knight now moved the 4th time. So black has only one piece developed, and this one piece moved 4 times. And in contrast, white has all his pieces developed, all except this rook on a1. So this is why Morphy in the next move plays rook a to f1. Now he has all his pieces active, and black has only knight, which moved 4 times. And this is also something for which Morphy was known, this principle, bring all your pieces into attack. So at this position, someone could start thinking about how to attack with these 3 pieces, but Morphy probably saw immediately that he cannot do anything obvious like winning in the next few moves, so he just calmly moves his only inactive piece in the attack. Black plays queen e6, now finally developing the queen and bringing the queen into defense. And now Morphy plays knight e2, because now he wants, if you look this position, this knight is not participating in the game, so the whole action is happening here on the king side, so he wants to bring his all his pieces there. So he plays knight e2, and now you can see this f4 square, it's controlled by both knights. That means that one of the knight after the exchange, one of the knights will be very active on this f4 square. Black now plays knight to d7, but you can notice that this knight is not okay. It is developed and the rooks are now coordinated, but this knight is completely blocked. So these d and e pawns are blocking all the available squares for this knight. So this knight is not actually doing much here on d7. And now Morphy plays knight e to f4, and you can notice that now he's coordinating his knight with his e5 pawn, and together they control all these squares in front of enemy king. And also by playing knight to f4, white is forking black queen and black knight, so the exchange is almost forced. So black has to exchange, and Morphy takes back with his knight, and now this knight on f4 is very powerful, since it cannot be easily exchanged nor harassed. Attacking his queen retreats, and now Morphy plays rook to g3, and of course he again he is now pinning g7 to king, and he's threatening queen captures h6. So black plays king h7 to avoid this, and now Morphy is bringing his other rook even closer to the enemy's camp. So you can see, like I said earlier, with each move Morphy's pieces got closer and closer to the king. So this rook went from a1 to f1 to f3. This rook went from f1 to f3 and now to g3. This knight went from c3, e2, f4. So all his pieces are now getting closer and closer to the king. Black now plays rook to g8, because if he didn't do anything, there is a threat of sacrificing the rook on g7. So for example, if he played some nothing move like a5, then white could sacrifice the rook by capturing on g7. King takes rook on g7, and now rook g3 check, king h7, and rook h3, and this is mate in 4 actually, but you can see that the mate is very near, and it can be postponed only by sacrificing tons of material. So this is why black saw this, and he played this rook to g8 to stop this threat. And now, interestingly enough, Morphy plays knight h3 again. So notice this that this h3 square, which is quite funny, was actually used by both of his knights. And now by playing this knight h3, he's making a double threat. So one threat is just to capture this f7 pawn, which is now attacked twice, and another threat is to play knight g5 check. Since this pawn is pinned, this knight will not be cannot be recaptured. Black plays g6, and now he's protecting this f7 pawn, because it's no longer attacked twice, and also he is attacking white queen. So this looks like a good move, but Morphy plays knight g5 check nevertheless. Queen captures this knight on g5. And now you can just recapture the queen with your rook and go with a winning endgame. So this line will go like this, so you can just capture, g takes h5, and now you can take on f7 with check, king has to move, you can exchange the rooks here and take this knight. And now this is obviously a winning position, winning endgame, because first of all white is up a pawn. White has a passed pawn which is very near to promotion. His rook is very active here on the 7th rank, and this is trapped on the edge of the board. So this will be a winning endgame, but this is not how it ended. But instead Morphy played Zwischenzug. So instead of recapturing, he took the f7 with the check. So as you know, this Zwischenzug is a German word. It means in between move. So when you see an obvious move, and you can make still play some other move which is forced. So this is check. So this is in between move. And king retreats, and now Morphy takes the queen, but not with a rook. He takes with queen. And at this point, black immediately resigned, because he cannot recapture the queen, because then rook to h3 would be a checkmate. So he could either live without his queen or getting checkmated. Okay, so this is how the game ended. And now, according to my own recommendations, you should go through every game twice. So I will go through this game again. So now when we saw all the ideas, all the variations, sub-variations, key points, we can go through this game again with a little faster pace, and in this way we will maybe remember something we learned. Okay, so I'll just go through this game fast. Morphy played e4. Mr. Lewis replied with Owen's defense, so not putting his pawn in the center, but rather try to threat center with his piece from the wing. Morphy immediately grabs the center. Black continues by playing bishop b7. White develops his bishop on d3, already having the idea of pushing his c or f pawn if need be, so he doesn't want to block these pawns. Black plays e6, controlling d5 square. White develops his knight in an unusual manner on h3, still planning of playing f4 in the future. Black plays d5, and now white plays e5, controlling this f6 square and grabbing more space in the center. Black develops his knight to e7, white castles, and black moves his knight to g6, opening his dark sphere bishop. White plays f4 as was planned. Black plays bishop e7, preparing for castle, and white is playing for pawn break, following this hand pointing rule that you should do pawn break in the direction when your pawns point in the closed center position. So e takes f5, bishop takes f5, and now bishop c8, trying to remove this attacker, but Morphy removes the defender, and now you can see that Morphy is much more developed than his opponent, but he still wants to develop more, so he brings out his knight, and now he threatens this d5 pawn. Black responds, and Morphy plays bishop g5, wanting to remove this defender. Black castles. White plays bishop takes c7, removing the defender. Knight takes c7, and now queen h5, using the inactive force, bringing his queen in the attack. Black responds with playing h5, and now we have this famous rook lift, rook to f3, threatening to go to g file and just crush black. So black plays knight g6, stopping that. The only inactive piece which is doing nothing is this rook on a1, so Morphy brings it to the attack. Queen e6, joining the defense. Knight e2, planning to occupy f4. Knight d7, developing his knight and coordinating the rooks, but this knight cannot go anywhere, so it's not really developed. Knight e to f4, forking queen and knight. Knight captures, knight recaptures. Now queen retreats. Rook to g3, again threatening all kind of stuff on the king side. King goes to h7, and another rook joins the attack as well. So rook to g8, encouraging this sacrifice idea on g7. But now king to h3, again with a double threat, so threatening to capture f7 and also to play knight g5 check here. So black plays g6, trying to defend. Knight to g5 check anyway. Queen takes g5, and now we have this Zwischenzug, in the in-between move. King has to retreat, and now queen captures on g5, threatening a mate in 1 if this queen would be recaptured, and now black just resigned the game. Okay, that will be all for today. I hope you find this video useful. If you like this video, then please click the like button and to subscribe to my channel, because more videos are on the way. And make sure to check out the video description. You'll find some links and references below as always. And stay with me until the next time. Cheers.